Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Scalable Freedom Show, the show where we create sold out masterminds inside your coaching, consulting, or mentoring business. Today, I'm going to take you through exactly what I would do right now if I was scaling my mastermind from 5 to 50 people this year. I'm going to share strategies that I'm teaching my clients and my students right now that are going to help you to sell your mastermind. I'm going to walk you through those in just a moment, but I wanted to start with the really human trait that I'd recommend honing in business that I think is probably one of the most underrated but most powerful skills that there are, especially this year. And that is the trait of being a futurist. And if you hear me say that and you're like, but Ellie, I'm so great in the moment, I'm not so great at looking forward, stick with me because there are skills around this that can help you develop this trait. But first, why am I recommending this as a trait to focus on right now? Why is it important to be a futurist in business and specifically when you are selling high ticket? Okay, so here's the thing. It's just not as easy as it once was to attract cold leads who buy high ticket instantly. The data tells us that it takes 180 days on average. And in fact, I would highly recommend tracking that for yourself as to how long it takes somebody to sign up to your email list through to purchase. And if you make that your main goal to attract leads that buy fast, then you're likely solving the wrong problem in your business and you're constantly going to be chasing your tail. Instead, what you want to do, and the reason why you want to adopt the identity of being a futurist, is to set up your year and your sales system so that you've got a cycle where you're always doing three key things: generating leads, nurturing leads, and selling or creating demand for the next time spots open inside your mastermind. I'll talk about this in a bit more detail soon. So if you go 3 to 6 months, say, where you aren't always focused on generating new leads and you only sell to your warm audience, then you're going to find yourself in a situation where it feels like your mastermind isn't selling. And I say feels like purely because you aren't attracting new leads. And while there are absolutely strategies I use with my clients to support cash injections, it's never going to be the thing that will help you to scale your mastermind. So let me give you like a really specific example of this. At the time of recording this, it is February. We're in the month of February. And if you are thinking, oh, it's slower right now, it feels like it's slower right now, that is probably because January is a bit of a quieter time often because people are on holiday and your activity likely slowed down over Christmas. You know, maybe you are on school holidays with your kids. Right now, you're seeing the result of seeds that you planted back in November and December. And if you weren't generating new leads then, you're going to feel the effect of that now. Instead, because you've adopted the skills that are associated with being a futurist, skills like strategic thinking and forward planning, you're going to be able to have a year that's mapped out where you know that in any given moment, you've set yourself up for so much success because you've got an always on sales system that operates month on month on month. And so, you know, as women, for us to run these businesses in a way that creates freedom and also feels really good for us, we need to be able to rely on those systems, because if we don't, we get into these dysregulated states of being because we need to make quick cash because we haven't been the futurist that we need to be. And the cycle perpetuates around and around and around. We feel stretched, we get out of alignment, we don't have fun, we end up loathing our businesses, all the things that we don't want. If you want to run a mastermind in your business, and I highly recommend that you do because of the profitability that you can generate, the freedom you can create, and the results that you can generate for your clients, then you need to be able to be the futurist. Okay, so now let's talk about the sales system that I recommend if you want to go from 5 to 50 clients in your mastermind this year. So we know that if we're selling out our mastermind, we want to create an epic sales system. Here's exactly what I'd recommend. In fact, what I'm about to share is very similar to a strategy that I wrote up specifically for a client last week who's about to do the exact same thing inside her business. So I would recommend that you focus on running regular workshops that attract high ticket buyers. You'll notice that I didn't say webinar. That's not how we're structuring it. We are instead focused on creating a conversion event that helps us to nurture our potential clients because it gives them some sort of micro transformation. Now, our workshop's going to do a few really specific things. It pre-qualifies for depth rather than just for interest, which means that you're going to get more people who are ready to move rather than people who are there to lurk or just consume passively. You're going to have something that creates a result. People don't buy masterminds because they understand something, they buy because they feel a shift. A workshop allows you to create that shift. So by the end, the story becomes, if I got this much from a 60 or a 90-minute or a 2-hour workshop, imagine what close proximity is going to do. And a workshop positions you as the facilitator of transformation, not just a presenter. You are going to set up a consistent cadence for your workshop. Now, I would recommend monthly at a minimum, weekly if you're all in on creating a high volume mastermind for scale. And you focus specifically on a cycle and system where you can direct people to your workshop, sell at the end of your workshop, direct people to application or to call, depending on your system, and then back to waitlist after you run your workshop. The reason we close off at the end of the workshop is because we're specifically creating demand by limiting two things. We're limiting the time that you have to sign up, and we're limiting the number of spaces available. It creates genuine urgency because you've capped the window in which people can buy, which creates genuine demand as part of your sales cycle. Okay, why sell off a workshop, I hear you ask? Well, because getting in front of your ideal buyers is important, and it's never been more important than right now when your people want to be in your presence to experience that micro transformation. It creates trust. It showcases that you are a real person. You get the opportunity to highlight and demonstrate your IP and your frameworks and sell your mastermind based on how you can help them solve their problem rather than just proximity to you and others, which we know is just not the thing that's selling masterminds anymore. Now, your workshop alone will absolutely help you to attract and nurture leads alongside your ongoing content strategy. However, I would also recommend having a lead magnet on the front end, something small that helps solve a really specific problem for your ideal clients. It's a far easier yes for people who are cold to you right now. It's usually a much lower cost per lead for someone to sign up for a lead magnet if you're running ads, which I recommend you do. And it's usually a much faster yes for someone to then go ahead and join your workshop after they've just consumed some sort of epic micro thing in your lead magnet. So with this in mind, I want to give you a very specific next step that you can go ahead and take from this episode. So your next step is to create a workshop to sell in your mastermind and set your date in your calendar for next month because speed of implementation is key. As a hot tip here, I would consider doing a no replay workshop to incentivize better show up rates. With industry averages currently lower than 20%, this is a great way to make your rate significantly better than that. I've also created a guide as part of this with my top marketing and delivery recommendations for masterminds in 2026. You can check it out in the show notes or the link under this video if you're watching on YouTube for additional strategies to support you to sell and retain those clients long term. Have the most incredible day ahead. I'll see you next time.